Hey, welcome to day 49 of the Starting a Software Company in 100 Days project. Back in my little quiet, dark cafe working this morning. So just wanted to chat with you a little bit about some of the stuff I've been talking about the last few days, and that's trimming the scope uh, and just being careful about what we're going to try to build out here in the next half of the project. And so I just wanted to share with you where I'm at as far as some of the remaining features, and so I'll walk through these. I'm doing kind of a software best practice here of doing estimation of days of development left, and not really necessarily expecting this to be days. The specificity or my accuracy of this is going to be quite low, but just wanted to chat about what we have left. And so there's about 30, let's say 33 days of development. Our developer takes the weekends off, and so 7 weeks times 5 days equals 35 development days. There's probably going to be a few days off in there, so I'm just estimating 30 days of development time that we have left on this initial MVP build. So here I'll walk through some of the things that we're working on. We have to finish the user input. So if you watched my video yesterday, the all the components that you can add to a task, those we have a couple things left to finish there from the user input side. So we have the UI built for the user or for the task creator, the admin to create the task, but we just need to finish the UI that the user is going to complete, the task completion piece of each one of those components. And then we have to do our team page and the invite process, and so that's going to be a really solid full week. If you watched one of my earlier videos, probably about 15 days ago, I talked about we need to refactor the due dates. And so when you're building a process template, rather than setting a static due date doesn't make any sense. And so we need to have a more flexible, dynamic way of setting due dates on specific tasks. So you can pick a number of days after the process has been initiated, a number of days after a certain task has been completed. And so we need to complete that refactor. And so I've estimated 3 days there. In all honesty, this is probably, I would say, let's just say that's a 5-day process. That's going to be a fairly lengthy thing to rebuild, not necessarily on the front end, but on the back end. We need to add quite a bit of drag and drop functionality to both the task creation and the process creation. It's just not up to where I think a modern user interface should be. We're going to be adding something called action text from Rails 6 to both the tasks and the process. Anywhere where there's like a big comment box, action text comes with a lot of things like bullets, formatting. You can automatically add images, and so we're going to be adding action text. And so I estimate that being a day. I'm going to have some UI design work done just to freshen up some of the fonts and some of the sizes and just some of the overall design. I estimate that that'll take 2 days to build out. Building out the front end dashboard, I did have that at 4 days. I'm going to back that down to 3 days because I've also added this. We need to build out filters, so you can process filters by tag, by user, by template. And so the combination of the dashboard and our home screen being built out, that's 3 days, and the filters is 3. We need to refactor or finish the ability to set up recurring processes. So basically, you can turn on a process and have it activate on a recurring schedule. That's a couple days. So I had a Zapier integration here, sales site here, and our first sales site is going to be, we're going to take a a bootstrap theme probably, like I've talked about, and modify it for our use case. This can probably maybe get down to 3 or 4 days. And then the Zapier integration where you can activate processes as a trigger in Zapier. And so what I ended up having to do here is I peeled these out. I'm going to have to find another resource to do these. I think that just basically we're just not going to get there. And then I also added 5 days of cushion. And it pains me a little bit, but the one big thing here that we're missing is the conditional logic that I've talked about. And I really wanted that to be in our first version of Playbook that we are going to release in the wild, but that just isn't going to happen. I frankly was surprised that this took as long as it has, and I should have trimmed some of the components, specifically the one where you can do linear. You can basically rate things on a linear scale of 1 to 5, and there's also this checkbox grid where you can set up multiple rows and multiple columns. Those should have probably been trimmed from the first version of Playbook and replaced with conditional logic. I think we probably could have freed up 6 or 7 days, a good week and a half, if I would have trimmed those two and maybe a couple other of the form components and just kept it a little more simple. So, with that, I'm just going to, over the next couple days, I'm just going to kind of massage this list, spend more time in the initial version of Playbook, and get some, and then next week I got to get some design work. Basically, have somebody come in and take a look and give us some design feedback, as some of the design I think is a little rough around the edges versus what we had initially created in Figma. So, yeah, we basically just coming down to kind of shape. We're shaping and molding the final scope of this project. There's going to be a lot of work left to do, but we need to define the remaining tasks, and I feel this is a pretty good list. But I'm going to chew on this for another couple days, and then once Abhay, who is our primary developer, or our only developer, as soon as he finishes this top list here, we will start to go down and tick these other things off the list. So probably going to try to do some quick wins first, just to get them off the list. So some drag and drop. This action text, I think, will be two that we'll get done soon, and then just along the way a variety of UI updates. So with that, we are 1 day away from the halfway point of Playbook and our mission to start a software company in 100 days. So we have a lot of work left. I'm disappointed we're going to have to trim the conditional logic from the first part of the scope of this project, but at the end of the day, we're building a relatively complex piece of software here. Not overly complex, but just has a lot of moving parts. So with that, thank you for following along, and we will talk to you tomorrow.